Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to another edition of the Houston Roundball Review Takeover, powered by JM&E, the takeover of Throwback Thursday. It's me, KG Kris Gardner, owner of the Houston Roundball Review, and with me again, my colleague, Miss Kennetra Pulliams. How you doing, lady?
I'm doing well. Good to see you.
Thank you very much. You as well. Always good to see you. Say this, of course. Kudos and shout out to BS3, Ben, and the group and the gang for help making this possible. Go to Roku. If you have Roku, download BS3. Get the app so you can watch the show. You can get the shows on demand if you can't watch it live. But this show is available on BS3, on Roku, as well as on the Houston Roundball Review YouTube channel. Going to be kind of brief today. Other things popped up, so get right into it.
Fast break.
KP. Yes, fast break. This Sweet 16 on the men's side. Going to discuss women's Sweet 16 as well.
Okay.
Just the four power conferences represented.
Mm-hmm.
One school from Duke, from ACC, just Duke. 4 Big 10, 4 Big 12, 7 SEC. Is this the sign of things to come because of NIL revenue sharing, or what? Or what do you think? What say you?
I do. I just think because of the financial resources that are available to the Power 5 conferences and the Power 5 schools, that they are able to offer incentives for talented players to join their programs. They have more money than say, a team from the Mountain West or the team from, even the Big East. I mean, St. John's was right there. But I mean, it's tough. I mean, and you look at even now, as of airtime, the number of men's basketball players who have already entered the transfer portal, which just opened on Monday. There's more than 1,100 names in that. And it's like there's more players in there than there is going to be room, because as we know, the rosters are going to shrink, with the new legislation. And so it's just the portal window is shorter by 15 days. The portal window opened later, 2 weeks later, as opposed to the beginning of the NCAA tournament. It opened 2 weeks in, so, and then of course with that, there's a correlation of all.
Let's pause right there. Okay. We'll get back to your point. Let's pause right there. The portal opened later, but common sense and logic seem to dictate that the portal should open after the tournament
concludes. Sure.
Yes. So make it make sense to me, Kennetra. Why are people who supposedly are smart, intelligent folks having the portal open during the tournament?
I mean, I don't know. But at the same time, if they figure, well, coaching changes are happening during the tournament.
Fair.
So, fair. Why can't Bennett Starks, follow his coach from Drake to Iowa? And why can't Tucker DeVries, follow his dad from West Virginia to Indiana? So it's just, if there's coaching movement, as well as not even schools that have hired new coaches, schools that have fired previous coaches, those kids, they don't want to wait to see who their coach is going to be. They're like, I'm out.
That's a fair point. Okay, I'm going to see if I can get you to give me your predictions. Okay. Okay, Miss Pulliams. Thursday evening, we got 4 games on the men's side, Sweet 16, East Region, West Region. In the East first, 6:09 Central Time on CBS. East Region games are on CBS. Alabama, BYU. What you got?
Let's just. It's easy to go, higher seed, so let's go BYU.
All right. Brett Yormark says, thank you very much, Kennetra. Next, see if you do it again. Duke, Arizona. No. All right. Fair enough. I probably not. Out of those two games, I probably would. I'd pick BYU. It's going to be a high scoring game.
Yeah.
Sure. I hope BYU can hit
Especially
three.
if they make their threes.
Yes.
Yeah.
If the good Caleb Love shows up, if he continues showing like he has so far, Arizona has a chance. And that's all you can ask for. Let's go with that. So, but if I had money to bet, I'd pick Duke. West, Florida, Maryland. What you got?
Florida should have lost, but
we could say Maryland should have too.
Yeah.
Did he travel? Did Derek Queen travel?
No, I don't. No, I don't think he traveled. That was, great game. I just think that Florida has more depth. Like Maryland, yeah, they use their crab five, but I'm going to say Florida.
All right, Texas Tech, Arkansas. Brett Yormark is watching you right now.
I would. This Tech, if they were fully healthy, I still want to pick Tech, but I think it's going to be close. And the thing is to say Arkansas is the only double-digit seed in the round of 16, and they're the lowest seed. So I'll say Tech.
All right, and Mr. McMillan, Chance McMillan, I think did practice or was going to try to practice Wednesday. We'll see if he's good to go, get cleared to play Thursday. He'll help.
Yeah.
Okay. Friday, March 28th. South Region, Michigan State, Ole Miss.
Ole Miss.
Who you got? Oh. Why? Why so?
I like Padula. And I like the way that the Rebels are playing for Chris Beard.
All right. Auburn, Michigan.
Auburn.
All right. Tennessee, Kentucky.
Yeesh. I'll say Kentucky.
Yeah, any particular reason? Because you kind of paused there, you gave a lot of thought. No?
Yeah. I really like Zakai Ziegler. But just what Mark Pope has done in his first year, back at Big Blue Nation. It's coin flip,
Okay, Houston, Purdue.
I'll go Houston.
Great answer, KP. I want to end the conversation short with you. But okay, we touched on it moments ago. I think this is some information about kind of the pay. Power Four party, as we said, all 16 teams on the men's side are Power Four representatives.
Yeah.
But the NCAA, this is from David Rumsey, Front Office Sports. The NCAA men's Division I conferences earn roughly $2 million for every game. So that's the units that we're going to talk about women's side as well. $2 million for every game. One of their teams plays in the tournament through the Final Four. The championship game does not award another payment. So far, the SEC's record, 14 March Madness bids, too many, are paying off the most to the tune of at least $58 million now for the next 6 years. That comes from $2 million for the SEC's automatic qualifier, the conference tournament champion Florida, $26 million for the 13 at-large bids, and another $30 million for teams that advance past the first round, including 7 to the Sweet 16, the most ever for one conference. Just your thoughts on that. That's a lot of money.
Yeah, and then of course, with Tennessee and Kentucky playing, you're guaranteed to have one in the Elite Eight.
Yes.
So there's another payday coming, guaranteed. But it's does it seem lopsided? Definitely. Does it seem unwarranted? I would not necessarily say so. Because, and is it an anomaly? No. It's not, yes, it's a super large conference, but, let's remember recently how many the Big East put in the NCAA tournament. But also, it's not just the men. SEC women are well represented as well. in the second weekend of the tournament.
It's funny you say that, KP. Look at there. Look at there. They got 6 in the Sweet 16.
Yeah.
LSU, Oklahoma, Ole Miss, South Carolina, Tennessee, Texas.
And what they put? They put 10 in the tournament. Is that right?
That sounds about right. Yes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so whereas so the men put 14 through, and then they get 7 to the second weekend. The women put 10 in and get 6.
And those 6 will earn, what is it, $300,000 per school, per unit, per school. Mm-hmm. So that's more money for the SEC. ACC sending 4 women's teams to the Sweet 16. Big 12, 2, best 2 in the conference all year in the Big 12, K-State and TCU.
Mm-hmm.
The Big East is UConn and everybody else. So UConn representing the Big East. Big 10, Maryland.
Big 12 could have easily had 3 with Baylor.
Yes. Just can't get over the hump. She got to get over the hump. At some point, the Baylor money people are going to, question. Well, she did that. Talking about head coach Nikki Collin, she did sign an extension on a contract, so she'll be there for a while. But she's got to get to advancing farther in the tournament to try to restore some of the glory that Kim Mulkey established when she was there. Big 10, Maryland, UCLA, USC. Your thoughts on JuJu Watkins' knee injury?
Devastating. She is the face of women's college basketball. You look at how many ads that she's featured in, that just run throughout both the men's and women's tournaments. She's a brand, and it's not like she is perceived as being a villain. She's likable. She's charismatic. Like, let's be real. She's an attractive female. Mm-hmm. Her disposition is great. She's a great teammate. She's humble. She's not polarizing. So it's just unfortunate, like that devastating injury happened on their home floor. Yes, her teammates rallied around her. And, Kiki Irfin had a great career high game to propel USC, to the round of 16. But it's just so tough that she was poised, to be this year's breakout star of the NCAA tournament. Was she kind of second in career scoring in the first 2 years of a college career, on the women's side. And she, in probably 2 games by the time it make it to the Final Four, she'd be number 1 all time. But yeah, it's tough.
And I feel bad. I wasn't watching the game. I was talking to a buddy of mine, part of the BS3 family, and we were talking about coaching hires, coaching moves, all those different things.
Yeah.
And then I got the notification on my phone, and I said, "Yo, man, JuJu got hurt." And so turned on the TV, and we were just trying to find the replay of the injury, and we were just shaking our heads at how it looked.
And an update of how severe it was.
Yeah, that looks bad, man. So yeah, the way her knee bent at that awful angle. I'm curious to see what JuJu, her family, her representation decides to do, because
insurance policy,
possibly, because ACL recovery time is 9 months to 12 months. Physically, because mentally it may take longer for some people. 9 months recovery, she can come back roughly December, January.
Yeah.
Next season.
Conference season.
Would she want to do that, or just take the full red shirt? Because if she takes the full red shirt, she could decide to go pro, because she'd be of age. She'd put in her 3 years of college and all that kind of stuff. But more importantly, she'd be 22 in the year of that WNBA draft in 2027. Go ahead.
The new CBA for the W.
Yes.
Like the timing of all of that really we see AZ Fudd deciding she's going to come back, for another year at UConn, but yeah, JuJu is going to have some life-changing decisions to make, at the turn of the calendar into 2026.
And Nafisa Collier said publicly what you, Willie Gibson, and I had discussed as a possibility, as an option.
And she said there are a lot of options on the table.
Yes, that the players, the
And it's
WNBA,
good to have options.
yes, the Players Association has options, and yes, one of those options, if they do not get what they believe is a fair agreement with the owners, that they could decide to strike.
Yeah, and she said, I mean, she's like, no one wants a lockout,
Right.
But at the same time, if you know your value, nobody can tell you what you're worth.
Yep. So we'll see. All right. Prediction time on the ladies' side. Okay. KP, Duke, North Carolina, for the third time this season. Who you got? All these games
Duke.
are on ESPN on Friday.
Yeah, I'm gonna go Duke.
South Carolina, Maryland.
South Carolina.
At Maryland.
That game.
Maryland, Alabama game, a double overtime game. That was one of the best games I've seen in a long, long time.
It was war of attrition.
Yes, it was. And
I mean, it's like, if Bama didn't have two players foul out, early, you just wonder, like, would it have been different? But and then then that would have meant SEC gets another team.
Yeah,
17.
Yep. Yeah. Spokane Region 1, because Women's Sweet 16 is just 2 regional sites: Spokane, Washington, and Birmingham, Alabama. So you got 2 in Birmingham and 2 in Spokane. All right, NC State, LSU. Who you got?
I'm gonna go LSU.
All right, I'll be different. I pick NC State. UCLA, Ole Miss.
UCLA.
Okay. Saturday, TCU, 2 seed, TCU, 3 seed, Notre Dame. And these games on ABC, ESPN Plus, and Disney Plus.
That might be the game of the round of 6.
And isn't that a rematch?
Yeah. I'm gonna take Notre Dame.
I agree with you, but I hope TCU wins. I don't think they will. I'm hoping that they win.
Just for units for the Big 12, or?
Yes, just for Big 12 units. Yes. Sure. Texas, Tennessee.
I'm gonna say Texas.
Shocking. UConn, Oklahoma.
UConn.
I admire the fact you're taking time to think about that one. Oklahoma's the 3-point shooting they got to make their threes. Yeah. Reagan Beers, post player for Oklahoma, has to stay out of foul trouble.
Right.
A lot of things. UConn's rolling right now.
I mean, and then and then of course, Oklahoma getting the commitment from Aaliyah Chavez, #1 player in the nation.
Yeah, we'll talk about that in a second. Yeah.
Yeah. They're rolling.
USC, Kansas State.
I mean, Poindexter was shooting out of her mind for K-State.
Tamir made 8 threes.
Yeah.
Win over Kentucky. That 1-point win over Kentucky. Yeah.
And then overtime. And I mean, even I think despite not having JuJu, I do think, and then also with K-State, I know Yoki is back for the Wildcats, but I just don't know if she is back to the Aoka Lee who put up 50 against Oklahoma last season. I don't know if she's completely full force.
Yeah, agreed. She's and she really shouldn't be. She hasn't played. She was out for a while. She came back. So I think she's working herself into Aoka Lee game shape. We'll see. But okay, I'm going to hypothetical. If let's see. if Oklahoma beats UConn and USC beats K-State, can USC beat Oklahoma?
I think so.
But if chalk holds, can USC without JuJu beat UConn?
I don't think so.
Yeah, it'll be a challenge.
Yeah,
to do that.
And I mean, and, we were talking, throughout the course of the week, just about TV times, and whatever. But like, let's also remember geography of like where teams are playing, and then having to travel across the country.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that should be as much of a discussion as much as tip times for the round of 32.
And we get to it. I mean, Birmingham is south. Wrong slide. South.
Yeah.
Spokane is west coast. This is where northwest. Excuse me. Yes, northwest. I want more upper northwest. Want more regional cities to bid on the regional sites for women's basketball. I think it was in Fort Worth last year. I'm going to put both of us on larger screen. I'm going to vent for a moment.
Okay.
This is where I get on my soapbox, have my little TED talk. City of Houston, powers that be.
Right.
University of Houston administration. The Houston Harris County Sports Authority.
Mm-hmm.
I know y'all want the big events, want the women's Final Four or bust, but the door is open for Houston, the city of Houston, to host a regional site for women's basketball. Mm-hmm. Put in the bid, got the facilities, all these things. Let's get it done. And who knows, it could generate interest in women's basketball here in the city for the middle school girls,
right,
younger high school girls, to see, hey, I want to be part of that.
Mm-hmm.
And then if the local schools market it correctly and get the young players to stay here in Houston to play for the local teams,
yep,
then the investment would pay off for them potentially. But I've tried that. I damn near handed the Sports Authority a gift
mm-hmm.
to get the regional here, and they said no, we don't want Final Four. All right, I'm talking about women's Final Four. I was like, okay, people. I mean, whatever.
Was it all or nothing? Like
that's as far as they're concerned, all or nothing. I'm like, okay. Now that was before women's basketball, the explosion across the country. So that's like 3 or 4 years ago. So hopefully the mentality has changed for some of the people over there. But I'm not holding my breath on that one. And before I go to the slide,
I mean, and I guess it's timing to start of baseball season. You've got a PGA event, kind of all happening. So then it's like, all right, is that where their focus is, as opposed to investing into women's sports and making it a successful event?
Okay, that's fair. But how about this? If reports are true that the WNBA is returning to Houston in 2028, 2029, well, if you put in a bid to host a regional in whichever year W's returning, 28, 29, whatever.
And that's the thing coming up. I want to say this fall is when the new bid cycle happens.
Yes.
For 28, 29.
Mm-hmm. So you could open it up, put in a bid, then you can start promoting the return of the WNBA to the city of Houston, all these things. See, you and I have great ideas. Maybe if they would pay us as consultants, they'd get more things done here in Houston for women's basketball. Put that out there in the universe, have that happen. Okay, next on this edition of the Takeover, get to the slides again right here. Your thoughts on this? Basketball-only schools could see a power surge after House settlement approval. And this is from Amanda Kristovich with Front Office Sports. Okay, the power dynamics in college hoops could change forever on April 7th, though not because of the men's national championship tips off that day. Go Cougs, hopefully. The House versus NCAA settlement's final approval hearing is slated for 12 p.m. Central Time. A landmark proposal that could bring an era of revenue sharing to NCAA sports for the first time in history. The settlement will offer $2.8 billion with a B, $billion in back damages to athletes who couldn't profit from NIL, name, image, and likeness before 2021. It also redefines NIL to include broadcast revenue, allowing schools to share their media rights revenue with players. Each Division I program would be allowed to offer up to $20.5 million next year, the first year, to all athletes in their athletic department. That revenue sharing cap would increase every year, I think 3% annually. NIL collectives will still exist, but the NCAA is implementing a system to ensure deals through collectives and boosters are, quote, fair market value, love that, and quote, unquote, not pay for play. I'm going to enforce that. It's kind of curious.
Tomato, tomato.
Yes. Schools with FBS football programs face a major dilemma. If they give the vast majority of the money to the football program, as many are planning to do, they might leave their basketball teams with fewer recruiting resources. But non-football schools are already planning to take advantage of their different positions. Think Big East. Power conference schools are expected to pay football programs 75% of the $20.5 million pool. Example, Texas Tech's reported breakdown. 74% to football, 17 to 18 to men's basketball, a big old 2% KP to women's basketball, 1.8% to baseball, and the rest to other sports. That leaves less than $4 million for the men's hoops and only $410,000 for the women's hoops. Your thoughts on that?
Problematic. It's just like, it's not, I don't think it's uniform across the board about the proportion of revenue that a school's football team generates in relation to their other marquee sports. So it's just like, because you could easily say that at UConn, men's and women's basketball are a bigger deal than UConn football.
Definitely.
It's hard to be like, okay, this slice goes here, 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 and this is the breakdown. Because then you have, outstanding. Texas Tech's track team is formidable.
Yes.
So like they weren't even included in that hypothetical breakdown of where the money's going.
They were in the other sports.
The other sport, right?
Other sports that are nationally ranked in, championship level. Yeah. Okay. I jumped slides to get to the info pertaining to my alma mater. This is like a month ago, courtesy of colleague Joseph Duarte at the Chronicle. While some details must still be finalized, AD Eddie Nunez said UH is all in to contribute the maximum allowable amount of $20.5 million during the first year of revenue sharing. That represents a significant financial step for UH, which has the smallest athletic budget among Power 4 schools and is heavily subsidized by the university to remain competitive in the ever-changing college athletics landscape. Nunez said a minimum $18 million was, quote, a number we felt very comfortable with because it allowed us to have flexibility. The figure could fluctuate close to the $20.5 million cap, depending on how many new scholarships the school adds. The commitment was we're going all in. Nunez said to the Chronicle, we're going to do this at the highest level we can. So that's kind of different. Now go toward the bottom. Many schools are expected to use a formula that would pay 75% to football, 15% to men's basketball, and the remaining to women's basketball and Olympic sports. One possible scenario for UH would be closer to 68 or 69% for football, 23 to 25% for men's basketball, and the rest among UH's other 15 varsity sports. The football percentage would keep UH in line with many of the top programs in the country. Kinda, not really, because that's what 6 to 7% difference. While a larger chunk for men's basketball is a premium for a perennial national title contender. Nunez said the key is finding the right balance. Quote, I'm not treating them just as a basketball program. I'm treating them as one of the elite basketball programs. Thoughts on that?
Number one, from the first slide, it's problematic that UH's operating budget is the smallest among Power 4 schools. That right there is a red flag.
Mm-hmm.
How about fundraisers? Get your game up.
Been preaching that for years, as you know.
Like that right there, like, wait a second. It's not like you're in the middle of nowhere, Texas, like you're in a major city. Like, y'all need to grind just to make sure that your school has a fighting chance, and then, and right now, football is not where anyone wants it to be. But at the same time, it's just like, how do you recruit when the attendance isn't there? If the marketing efforts aren't there, how do you build a competitive, comprehensive athletic department? And it's not just this team versus this team versus this team.
Preach, Kennetra Pulliams, preach.
And then the allocation.
Hold up, KP. The audience was giving you a round of applause. So go back and say what you're going to say. Go ahead now. Go ahead.
I don't know. Is there a difference between the allocation of money or how it's distributed, private schools versus public schools?
Hasn't been determined. That might be one of the things that the judge will determine. And more folks don't believe.
Let's just take, Duke versus UNC. They're both in North Carolina. One's a state school, one's a private school.
And to that, like schools in the Big East with no football.
Yeah.
They could allocate.
Some of them.
Some of them, yes. Some of them, 10, 12, $15 million to the other 20 to basketball if they want to. They can afford it. So
and then, the other wrinkle, like, let's look at it. Notre Dame. Hey, we're independent in football. We're in the ACC and everything else.
Yeah, that's a great point. How's that going to be handled? Yep. Final moments of this edition of Takeover. Want to get your thoughts on KU. This from On3, Pete Nakos On3. Kansas set to spend in transfer portal, surround 5-star Darren Peterson with talent. 3 years ago, as you know all this, Kansas won its 4th national championship in men's basketball. In the time since, Bill Self's program has exited the tournament in the opening weekend. The Jayhawks lost to Arkansas on Thursday, marked the first back-to-back double-digit loss season of the Self era. Kansas can now hit the reset button with the transfer portal, which opened up on Monday, March 24th. The Jayhawks will lose Hunter Dickinson, Shaquille Moore, DeJuan Harris Jr., Zeke Mayo, and KJ Adams, not including NBA draft decisions. The Jayhawks are expected to have $8 million available to build next year's roster, sources told On3. Mm-hmm. Thoughts on that right there? $8 million.
Yeah. But no, it's not pay to play, right?
That's what they say.
But they rented Shaquille Moore and Zeke Mayo for 1 year. And you can you can easily say the investment into Hunter Dickinson was not money well spent. Yes, he earned All-American status, first team All-Conference, but as far as postseason, Especially if you look at, let's see, the school he came from, Michigan. Oh, wait, they're still playing.
Mm-hmm.
Alabama, still playing. Alabama, which went to a Final Four, and so you get players from from Wisconsin and from Alabama, and it wasn't the right fit because, as I've said before, when you have players who are experienced in other programs, it's going to take time to deprogram them from the way they were taught to play in somebody in Nate Oates' system and teach them how to play in Bill Self's system and how you want them to play, and then how they're going to fit. Some coaches are better than others at roster and player development. You look at what KU had and what they got rid of, i.e. Zuby Ejiofor,
Mm-hmm.
who might be going pro this year. He still has eligibility. He can come back to St. John's. But he developed in Rick Pitino's system. But they got rid of him so that they could get Hunter Dickinson. But, $8 million's a lot. It's just, and Bill Self has said they have done a poor job in evaluating portal talent and making that talent work at KU cohesively.
And for those watching, I don't know the NIL budget for the Houston Cougars men's basketball program, but it is not $8 million. Okay, it is not that much. Trust me on that. But it is safe to say Coach Kelvin Sampson and staff have done a better job evaluating guys in the portal who fit their system, the Houston Cougars basketball system, much, much better than KU has.
And it's just, it's I'm not gonna say it's fool's gold, but it just hasn't panned out as expected. KU, their issues have been, 3-point shooter consistently. So you go out and get guys over the last few years who were great at their previous schools, but there might be a reason. Might have been lesser talent. So defenses weren't playing the same way. So to have those guys replicate those numbers at KU, it hasn't happened. KU hasn't really developed this year. They didn't really develop an offensive identity. They didn't develop a rotation. Bill Self was still mixing and matching, as the season went on, just trying to find, his core 7, maybe 8 players. And there was no consistency in his rotation. And they were limited offensively.
He was still trying to figure it out late in the conference play.
Yes.
And that's a problem. That's a sign that your team, if you were still trying to figure it out in late conference play, things have not gone well.
And the question is, does Flory Badunga, does he come back?
Yep.
Does he hit the portal?
Another good question. That is going to do it for this fast break edition of the Houston Roundball Review Takeover, powered by JM&E. Don't have a sponsor yet for the takeover. So again, putting it out there if you want to, if you are interested and able, not just willing, able, email advertise at HRR.com. I am, of course, KG Kris Gardner of the Houston Roundball Review. You have been watching this show as part of the BS3 Network, and I will play that on the way out so you get the promo. I'm not going to forget about my family. KP, as always, thank you for your time. I'm not going to ask you because, like I said, you'll tell me if things have changed. So I will do this, and I'm going to play it, and then very quickly come back because I just want to say thank you again. But very quickly, everyone, here's a promo for BS3, and we'll be back. Yes, we will be back in 35 seconds.
BS3 Network, changing the way you watch TV.
Welcome back as we wrap it up on this fast break edition of the Houston Roundball Review Takeover, powered by JM&E. We made our predictions for the men's and Women's Sweet 16. We'll see how right or wrong we were on both fronts. But I am, of course, KG Kris Gardner. She is KP Kennetra Pulliams. Are you available next Wednesday?
Yeah.
We're going to do it again next Wednesday because if all things go well, I'll be in Tampa on Thursday for the women's tournament. Yes, that's right. Proud to say it. I got credentialed for both Final Fours, men's and women's, but I will be in Tampa first. If the Houston men's team reaches San Antonio in that Monday, then I will get to San Antonio for that. But as always, thank you, everyone. Thank you, KP, for your time and your insight. Always appreciate it. And wrapping it up, as I always do, since 1994, the Houston Roundball Review. Local name, global perspective. Everyone, take care. Peace.